went to a church where people are willing to invite people. And his son, Matt, invited him about a year and a half ago. And what I haven't found out yet is who invited Matt. Who invited Matt? How did Matt get connected? I knew he knew Anthony from work and some other situations like that. But I'm just excited about people that are willing to do that. Do you realize we're 5 weeks away from Easter? Yep, start buying your hams now. But we're 5 weeks away from Easter. Last Easter, we had a Saturday night service for the week of Easter. We do a Saturday night service at 5 and then regular Sunday morning services. Last Easter, there were 808 people in our 4 services. We really think that it's realistic. Well, it's not realistic at all. It's actually impossible. But with God, it's realistic. We want to reach 1,000 people. Whether it's this year or not, we want to reach 1,000. And some might, well, it's just a number. Church shouldn't be about numbers. Every number's got a name. Every name's got a story. Every story matters to God. There's never been a story that hasn't mattered to God. There's never been a number that hasn't mattered. And that's actually why the shirt is designed the way that it is. You might think it should say, I heart my church. Instead, it says, I love my church with a heart over the M. Because in Roman numerals, the M stands for 1,000. That's what we're aiming for. There's not a single person in this area that does not need to know about Jesus Christ. There's not a single person in this area that does not need connected to a good, healthy local church. And if you took every church in town and doubled it in size, the largest church in town would still be the half of the people that don't go anywhere and are disconnected from God and disconnected from following Him and disconnected in the life of other believers. So that's what we're after. That's where we're aimed. That's where we're going. And today we're talking about the power and the impact of an invitation. If you have your bulletins out, go ahead and pull them out right now. We're going to get right to it this morning. If you didn't get a bulletin when you came in, lift your hand. We'll have an usher come down this aisle over here. Johnny, thank you. And make sure that you get one. You have no idea what hangs in the balance of an invitation. And so I put together this short sentence here. And I didn't realize how powerful it was until I really started forming the sentence. Invitations impact people's trajectory. Invitations impact people's trajectory. Trajectory is the fancy word for flight path. Okay? The trajectory that you take, a flight path. So what are we talking about? Vertical direction. Invitations impact people's vertical direction. You need to think through your own life on how invitations have impacted your life. And invitations have impacted everybody's life in this room. Some of the invitations have helped you move forward and up in your trajectory. Some invitations you regret saying yes to, and they took you down in your trajectory where you were headed with your life. Invitations are loaded with power. At some point in your life, maybe someone said, hey, I want to invite you to try this. It'll make you feel like you've never felt before, and it's free the first time. And it caused one of the greatest regrets you ever had, and you've been fighting it ever since. Other invitations have taken you forward in an amazing way. In a very awkward way, you're only here and exist today because of an invitation. All right? You were only born because somebody invited somebody to something at some place in some time, and your mom and your dad met, and they got put together because of an invitation. Now, hopefully it was a lot of invitations that turned into dates, that turned into a marriage, or maybe it was just a one-time invitation, and boom, boom, there it was, and here you are, but you're here because of an invitation. An invitation has immense power, and in light of that, you have immense power to change the trajectory of someone else's life. Oh, Pastor, we're supposed to talk about Jesus, not the psychobabble stuff. Hold on. Even without Jesus, your invitation has immense power. You offer somebody drugs, your invitation has immense power. You offer somebody a job, your invitation has immense power. But what if you're actually offering them Jesus instead? What if you're actually offering them a path up instead of just another, hey, work really hard and maybe God will love you, or work really hard and maybe that employer will love you, or work really hard and maybe your husband will love you again? What if the invitation was to something that they need? I have dedicated my life, in a sense, God's calling my life into the ministry, but there's lots of different ways you can do ministry. There's lots of different things you can do, pastoring-wise, church-wise, other ministry-wise, but dedicating it to creating an organization, a local church, a niche, a culture, a DNA that is such that when people walk in, they go, I want to be here, but more importantly, it goes forward one more step, that not only do I want to be here, I'm willing to invite someone else to come here. Because you go places that you don't mind going, but you don't invite people to. There's some restaurants you go eat, but because you're not sure on the sketchiness of how clean the kitchen is, you don't necessarily invite other people to, but you like it. You like it, and you'll go yourself. Maybe you'll bring a really, really good friend, but you wouldn't take a first date there. No, you're a little more comfortable there. I came across this definition last year at LeaderCast. It said this: bold leadership is clarity around an unreasonable commitment to what should be. And in trying to lead, we have clarity, very much clarity in this church, around an unreasonable commitment. The commitment is ridiculous on what should be. And what should be is that when people walk in, they feel comfortable and not condemned. That's non-negotiable. That we have a clear commitment, a ridiculous level on what should be. Because I've had too many encounters with people after they've attended it for 6 months. And I say, so hey, how'd you find out about the church? Oh, cool. Yeah, and then they keep going. And they start telling me about a previous bad church experience they had 6 months ago, 6 years ago, 3 decades ago, or one their grandpapa had when he was pastoring a church 40 years ago, and that's why none of their family's been in church for 40 years. I could do a whole series on my bad church experience. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening, and I already know what I'm going to say when they're done. I'm sorry. As a leader of a local church, I'm sorry a local church treated you that way, was arrogant, was rude, was condemning, treated your parents that way. I apologize. On behalf of the one who died for the local church, I'm sorry you were treated that way. And it's just what I feel since God has dropped in my heart in a tremendous way. Ain't no one going to say that when they come here. If we have a greeter that's being rude to people and going, man, that's how you dress for church? Guess what? We need a new greeter. Because that person ain't greeting anymore. We're not going to have someone at the door that's going to be mistreating people in that way. Because too many people had the experience where they weren't sure if they were welcome in a local church based on how they looked, what they were wearing, what they weren't wearing, and making sure that we have a clear commitment around that. We have people all over this place that are far from God, and they're broken. And the local church, I believe, is the hope of the world still. It's the total hope of the world. Where else can you connect to other people, love each other, grow, serve, and move forward, and get your life changed by Christ? And I love the church I got saved in. I wasn't raised in church. Supposedly, I was raised Lutheran. And when I say supposedly, that means I got baptized before I was like a month old. I went through confirmation classes in junior high. Yeah, confirmation, not catechism. Confirmation classes. Never went back one day. Not one day. I came to know Christ at about age 18, and the church was called Christian Heritage Assembly of God. I love the church I got saved in. But I'm not sure, I know I wouldn't attend it now. Because it's a church for church people. And I'm really amazed when I look back on it, how I even got saved in that church. Hence the name, Christian Heritage. I didn't have a Christian heritage. The people in that church all did. I didn't. It's amazing I got invited to that church. And that church was awesome. I loved my pastor, Pastor John Bunny. Every time I would go back and he wasn't in the nursing home like he is now, I'd go visit him if the nursing home was closed. I'd stop by and see him. I don't think he'd remember me anymore, unfortunately. But I got a chance I want my picture taken. My favorite picture is me and him at a breakfast joint restaurant and my 10-year-old son, Connor, taking the photo. Pastor Bunny was great at giving deep teaching. And I loved deep teaching. It was great. I actually enjoyed the choir. We had a robed choir that would walk in. Matter of fact, they'd always start the music, and the choir would walk in, and the pastor would walk in front of the choir. Some of you nodding your heads going, I remember that kind of church. Piano on one side, organ on the other. I learned really quickly how to become part of that church culture and what was approved and what wasn't. I learned that wearing your Deep Purple concert t-shirt was not approved on Sunday morning at that church in a kind way, not in a harsh way, thankfully. And I loved everything about that church. I loved the hymns. Even the ones that are ridiculous and you don't know what half the words mean. I loved those. I got saved on that when I was 18. But there was one moment that would happen, and it happened a couple times a year, where I did not like my home church. And it was when I'd be sitting in church next to an unsaved, unchurched person that I personally invited. Instead of thinking everything was awesome, I was thinking everything was weird. Because now I'm sitting next to someone, and I'm not just looking at it through my viewpoint and going, oh yeah, I know how we're supposed to do this. Oh yeah, this is when we lift our hands. Oh yeah, I know how to sing this song. Oh, I even know how to follow the hymnal. Verse, chorus, verse, chorus. I'm getting better at that. Yeah. But not when I'm sitting next to a unsaved, unchurched person that I personally invited. Now all of a sudden I'm squirming. And I'm not going, man, I hope the teaching is really deep today. No, now I'm going, I hope it's clear. I hope it's understandable. Now I'm no longer frustrated that we didn't sing verse 3 of like a river glorious is God's perfect peace. I'm no longer upset that we didn't sing verse 3 of that, because that's my favorite verse. Now I'm going, what on earth are we singing? And why should we stay up on Jehovah where hearts are fully blessed? I don't even know what that means at that time in my life. And how about this one? Here I raise mine Ebenezer, hitherto thy will to come. Do you even know what that means? I actually do. I can give you the Old Testament meaning of Ebenezer and all that, but all of a sudden I'm squirming if I'm sitting next to an unchurched, unsaved friend I brought. If I'm just sitting next to my church friend, no big deal. Let's sing it. Ebenezer, hitherto thy will to come. You know what that's called by non-church people? Weird. That's weird. For us, church people, oh man, we're experiencing the presence of Almighty God. Depends if you want to be a church for church people or you want to be a church that's trying to reach people that are far from God. There's both options. There's both options there. Our church was awesome for church people, and it was perfectly designed for the results it was getting. A steady attendance of older, white, upper middle class, dressed nice church people that loved Jesus with all their heart and gave a ton of money to missions. And on my last Sunday night there, when I stood up and gave testimony about going to Bible college, I walked out with $900 cash in my hand. No special offering taken. Just people coming up and giving me what was called Pentecostal handshakes. That's exactly what happened. They were that kind to me, that gracious to me, that patient with me. Yeah, I love my home church, but it would not be a church you'd want to bring an unsaved person to. Then I went off to Bible college where I got trained to become a pastor of a church that was basically designed for church people. And I learned how to make sure things work so that church people would understand. And I even learned how to lead songs like this. What, you do this for a 4/4 song, and you do this for a 3/4 song. Isn't that pretty amazing? Aren't you really impressed with me right now? I learned how to do all that. And so we went off and became a youth pastor at a church in Illinois that was so dysfunctional, we didn't know it was dysfunctional when we went there, that church people didn't even like attending it. And they wouldn't even stay. It was horrible for the first 3 years. Then we went to Wichita to a large church for 6 years as youth pastor that was basically, really, when we look back at it, it was a church for church people. And church people loved it, though, because they did it right. The pastor didn't preach long. The music was awesome. It was great. But in reality, it wasn't the easiest place to sit there in the service if you were sitting next to an unchurched, unsaved person that you brought. It wasn't necessarily much better, much moving forward for the person that was not already connected to God. But church people and kind of people coming back to church, they came to the church like crazy. It grew from 500 to 1,000. And then we came here. And we met the board. And Steve was on the board at the time. And it's like, well, so what are you guys trying to do here with this church? He goes, we don't want to be a normal, regular church. We want to do something different. We want to reach people. And that's what they started with in 1993 for their vision. And that's exactly what they wanted to do. But vision drifts in our lives, drifts in everybody's life. And unfortunately, they had started to drift to where we're doing things that church people like, and we're becoming like every other church. And I remember Steve almost in tears going, that's not what we want to be. And they would say, we want to reach people, not just we want to do what we want and want people to come to us. We want to reach people. We want to do this. We're willing to change. We're willing to be flexible, and they didn't lie. Otherwise, I would have moved here and the house would have been sold in 4 months. We'd be gone. They didn't lie. They were willing to work. They were willing to flex. They were willing to change. They were willing to do what might be necessary. I mean, crud. We went and got a Mr. Coffee machine for $25 because we had no kitchen. We got a Mr. Coffee machine, and we bought Starbucks coffee at Walmart for $7. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Yeah, Starbucks. Whatever it takes. And we spilled it on the carpet and damaged the carpet. The first outreach we did, you've seen us do the, here's the nice bottle of water that we give out that has our colored label on it that's real nice. The first outreach was me and Steve at Walmart with 2 bottles of Windex and 2 rolls of paper towels with business cards that I printed on a $30 inkjet Canon printer that said, hey, thanks for letting us wash your windshield. Just wanting to show you God's love in a practical way with our address and church information on it. You start with what you got, but that's who we're trying to reach, and that's the direction that we're trying to go. So we're trying to create a place where seekers, starters, or returners can begin to connect with God, where they could walk into a church and feel like it was safe and comfortable, which is not how people walk into a church the first time. This might be your first Sunday. But you walk into a church the first time, you're not going, cool, a church we've never been in before. I'm going to be transparent and vulnerable as I walk in. No. You're doing exactly the opposite. You're going, stay close. Mildred, if they get the snakes out, we're out of here. Because you're watching everything like a hawk. You're looking at the seats, see if there's seat belts in it, whatever it takes. But we wanted to create a place where the content coming across the platform wasn't just unique or, man, I've never heard that before, but it was helpful. It was effective. And so we wanted to create a church and a culture that people wanted to attend because they wanted to attend, not out of duty. And that those people who had little or no interest in God or the church in our town would have their curiosity piqued by being handed a bottle of water at Little Balkans Days or at 4th of July outreach. And that when they showed up to visit, they would walk out going, that was encouraging. That wasn't a waste of time. I might come back. When they walked out, they realized they received clarity and not confusion. They sensed compassion without compromise and conviction without condemnation. Now, with that being said, let me take you to a passage in the New Testament. When the early church started, you got all these Jews who are believing that Jesus is their Messiah. Awesome. Hey, Jesus is our Messiah. He's the Jewish Messiah. Woohoo! But then God did some supernatural stuff. And these non-Jews, these unchurched people that were called Gentiles, were starting to go right to Jesus and believe in Jesus. And these Jews were like, hey, wait a second. This is our Messiah. We've been waiting him for a long time. We've been keeping all these rules and regulations. We've been washing our hands before dinner. We've been doing all this stuff for this Messiah. Now you're just going to hop in line like you belong? So they had a big throwdown argument. And the question was this. We're Jews. He's our Messiah. Apparently the Gentiles, he's their Messiah too. But don't they have to become a Jew first? And then they get to believe in the Messiah? Now, for the ladies, that's difficult. For the guys, that requires surgery. Yeah, circumcision. A little bit different for the guys. If they want to be a Gentile, they got to become a Jew first. So they had a big argument about this. How difficult do we need to make it for the Gentiles to believe in Jesus? And so they wrote a long letter. And Jesus' brother James, is actually the one that ends it. And he says this. It's my judgment, therefore, we should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who are turning to God. Let's not worry about old school Pentecost if their dress is too short. Let's not worry about how thick the makeup is. Let's not smell them on the way in and say, sorry, I think you smoke cigarettes. You're not welcome in this church. Let's not do that. Let's not go there. Let's not make it any more difficult. The cross is enough of a stumbling block to have to admit that you need a Savior because you're a sinner. We don't need to make it any harder that you don't have the right kind of clothes. You can't come to our church. We don't need to make it any harder. True story, December 13th, 2003. The reason I know the date was December 14th was the very first service in our brand new building, the first building that we built. The plumber calls me. His name's Bill. Possibility he's going to be in my house tomorrow fixing my faucet. Bill declared himself to be an atheist, so we shined Christ to him as we were doing the building project. And when he came down for the first service in the building, I invited Bill. Hey, Bill, why don't you come be my guest? We'd love to have you. You can sit in the front row with me, special seats. Yeah. He didn't. But he called the night before. I said, hey, Mark, we're thinking about coming to the church, but I don't have any clothes to wear to your church. It almost stopped him from coming. I said, Bill, it's cool. Just put something in the washing machine and wear it. We'll be good. We're not the suit and tie play. We're not going to look down on you if you come in jeans. Thinking in the back of my mind, he is a plumber. We should definitely make sure he washes his clothes before he shows up. We don't need him smelling. So I said, Bill, just wash your clothes. You're good. Bill came sitting in the back row in a simple T-shirt and ripped up jeans. Let's not make it any harder for the Gentiles or the unchurched to come to Jesus than it already is. Can you say amen? So we're trying to make decisions based not on what a church person would like, but what a non-church person would like. So we built that building, and we added a second service. We added a third service. Then we built this building, and we added staff along the way, and we went back to 3 services. But we have grown primarily through invitations. People have started coming to the church because of invitations. The bottles of water being handed out at Little Balkan Days, those are invitations. Now, if that's an invitation for them to come back to God and go back to First Naz or Countryside or wherever they go, that's totally cool. Totally cool. But it's definitely an invitation. There's no hidden agenda. We're trying to connect people to God on that. So in light of that, the power the invitation has to change someone's trajectory, I just want to remind you that you're capable and qualified to be an inviter. Matter of fact, you would probably be a better inviter of someone to this church than I would be, especially as soon as they find out I work here. As soon as they find out I'm a pastor, all of a sudden my credibility goes out the window for inviting people. It's ridiculous. It'd be like you're a college professor and hey, you really should pursue education. Oh, do you think education is important? Oh, wait, you're a professor. No kidding, you do. You don't have to be the best Christian to invite someone to the local church. You don't have to be the best Bible student, the best parent, the best spouse. Just simply say, come and see. Come and see. Some of you dropped an F-bomb last month and you're thinking, man, I just can't be a mess. Some of you got invited to church by someone that in the invitation they were dropping a word they shouldn't be using. And God used it. He wants to use your invitation to invite somebody. So let me walk you through a portion of the New Testament where that exactly happened and someone was trying to invite somebody to Jesus. Jesus is putting his disciples together. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. He found Philip and he said to Philip, follow me. Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. So Philip then found Nathanael and told Nathanael, we have found the one Moses wrote about in the law. and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. So, hold on for a moment. So Philip says, all right, Moses wrote about him in the law. The prophets wrote about him. His name is Jesus. He's from Nazareth. He's the son of Joseph. 6 pieces of information about Jesus. And what does Nathanael do? He comes back with an argumentative question. And he makes fun of Jesus' hometown. Nazareth? Can anything good come out of Nazareth? And isn't that a fear that we have, that if we invite someone to a local church, hey, you want to come hang out at my local church? What? Can you explain the Trinity to me? I'm like, no, go to another church. Don't go here. We get freaked out by the questions. And Philip does a total Jesus move. He doesn't answer the question. He hears the question, Nazareth, can anything good come from Nazareth? Come and see for yourself. I can't tell you why I love my church so much, but just come and see. No, I can't explain the Trinity to you. No, I really don't know why those books in the Da Vinci Code aren't in the Bible. I really can't explain that to you. My pastor might be able to, but it bores me when he tells me. But just come and see, come and hang out at the church. Come and see for yourself. Come and see for yourself. We all have the ability to do that, and the power of an invitation is amazing. There are seeker starters and returners in our town that are beaten up by sin, and they feel beaten up by other Christians. They show up, and then God shows up. Like Richard said in this video. First Sunday I was there, the message is exactly what I needed to hear. I hear that again and again. There was that song that was sung, and they walk out, they go, I felt like I was home. Home. And you know who understands that better than anybody? Are those of you who are sitting here who you came because of someone's invitation. And when you came, you were that unsaved, unchurched person going, where are the snakes? I don't want to be here. I don't like this. Why are the lights down? And you're the one that was all nervous. And you remember what it was like when you hit the parking lot. No, if you're a PK, you're raised in church your entire life, you're going, oh, cool, another church. Hope they have free coffee. Woohoo! You're looking for the free stuff immediately because you know they probably got some free snacks somewhere. Here we go. But if you're not, when you hit that parking lot, you remember that moment in the parking lot going, you ready? All right, let's go. True story. 3 or 4 months ago, we had a couple visit the church. They sat back there, 8:30 service. They're great people. We've used them, but we've hired them before to do stuff with the church on a regular basis. We invited them to come. They were going through some difficulty in their life. They came. I said, man, it's so good having you here. Called him by name, and he goes, this is actually our 3rd Sunday. I'm going, what you talking about, Willis? No way. I can come close to just about naming everybody, and I know if you've been here 3 Sundays. He said, no, it's our 3rd Sunday. The first 2 Sundays, we didn't get out of the car in the parking lot. We got dressed, we drove 30 minutes, we sat in the car, we were too scared to come in, and we went home. That's who we exist for. They were too scared to come. They've hung out with us. They knew that we weren't going to judge them. They knew all that. They were too intimidated to walk in the door. You think those greeters are out, those parking lot guys are just out there waving lightsabers trying to keep you from getting in an accident. No, they're the first level of love. They're the absolute first level of love. We have no idea how broken people are and how much they need what's going on here. The first Sunday you came, you weren't ready for this place. You didn't necessarily believe everything that we believe, but you received encouragement instead of disappointment, so you thought about coming back. You got clarity instead of confusion. You sensed compassion instead of compromise, without compromise, and you sensed that we had convictions, but we didn't condemn you. And because of that, you said, I might come back. Question for you, rhetorical. Don't shout out an answer. I'm not trying to trip anybody up. Who's the most nervous person in our services? Who's the absolute person that is more nervous about what's going on than anybody? You might think it's the pastor because he's all edgy and nervous looking. You might think it's the sound booth guy that we're going to throw him a curveball. You might think it's the first-time person who's sitting here and they're getting white-knuckled. I would tell you that I think the most nervous person in our services is the person who is sitting next to an unchurched person they invited. They're the ones that are asking questions they've never asked before. Because when you bring someone that you personally invested and you risked an invitation and they're sitting there, you know, it's the 35-year-old live-in boyfriend your daughter's had for 2 years that you've been praying for God to kill him, and God hadn't done that yet. So now you're going, well, God, if you're not going to kill him, then save him, would you? And you're sitting there next to him, and all of a sudden, everything we do looks different to you. Everything we do looks different. Why are the lights down? Why are the lights up? What does this song mean? I have no idea. Oh, please tell me Sister Beulah Bottom's not going to go down to the front and dance for the flags. Please don't let that happen. Please don't let so-and-so worship in front of us, Jesus. Or please let so-and-so worship in front of us. Everything raises up. And you'll totally get why we do what we do and why we don't do what some other churches do, not because it's wrong or bad. We just don't do it on Sunday morning because of the unchurched person that we're hoping you invite. You'll experience everything in a different way. When you're sitting next to them, you're going to be glad that we're not taking song requests from the floor, that we don't have board members leading singing because they're board members, or that I'm in the 19th week of a 34-week series on the tabernacle because church people would love that. You'll experience everything differently. You'll experience parking. Parking will be more important to you if you've got an unchurched person sitting next to you. A friendly greeter, someone at the check-in counter that knows what to do with the iPads. A rehearsed worship team will matter to you. And you'll be going, I hope we don't sing too long. I hope we don't sing too short. I hope the pastor isn't on vacation. Or maybe you're going to go, I hope the pastor is on vacation. I don't know. You might think that. But if you've never had that experience, if you've never sat next to a family member who questions your involvement in this local church, a friend who wants to get you off their case so you'll quit inviting them to church, a neighbor or coworker going through crisis, until you get that, you don't have the perfect grasp on why we structure everything that we do on a Sunday morning. You know why we give out the drinks? One, yes, to help keep you awake while the pastor speaks. Absolutely. Thank you. So glad you're on that one. Captain Obvious. To put people at ease and relaxed. It's not because I like it. I don't like a single thing we give out. As soon as you see us giving away free Diet Dr. Pepper, you let me know. I'm getting in line. I'm getting in line. And the key for us remaining on vision is not the pastor preaching better. The key for us to stay on vision is not, Zeke, do better songs. No. The key for us remaining on vision is for the people in the chairs to keep inviting people. And here's the turn in the message. Here's the little bit of the message that hopefully you'll remember. Because here's what happens. If you invite people, you critique and complain correctly. When I came across and I was studying things out for this just really blew me. Everyone critiques and complains. Come on, we're Americans. We're good at this. But if you're inviting people, you critique and complain about things that are keeping people far from God. You critique and complain about things that people that are scared to death when they walk in here are nervous about, and it doesn't make sense to them. You critique and complain that we should quit singing a song to Ebenezer. But if you're a church person, you critique and complain about what's your comfort and your preferences. You complain why we don't sing the third verse of your favorite hymn like I did. Why do we sing too much or so little? Pastor, why don't we have so-and-so come preach here? They're really good at preaching. Hint, 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 hint. Hey, Pastor, can we do a series on Revelation? I'd really like that. And some of you are going, I'd like that too, Pastor. Do a series on Revelation. A series on Revelation is just fine until you're sitting next to the 30-year-old single mom who's got 3 kids. She doesn't have a scarlet letter. She's bringing them with her in her stroller. And you invited her, and she already feels judged by getting out of the car door, and now I'm in Revelation 7 for the 8th week in a row. Who wants that? None of us do. And if you did, you're in the wrong church, and you would have left here a long time ago. A long time ago. Our goal is not to be unique, original, or creative. We have Anthony for creativity. Our goal is to be effective and fruitful and to get a harvest to lay at the feet of the Lord of the harvest. We're a hospital for sinners. We're not a resort for the redeemed. Now, I love to teach. I get to do that tonight at Lead University, and I don't even have to talk this fast tonight because I get more time. That's what teachers want. They want more time in service to teach. You know what that means? Less worship. I'm okay with that. I like to teach. But that's not the goal of why we gather, so that I get to do what I want. I mean, if you're sitting next to that 25-year-old boyfriend of your daughter's, and I'm going to take 45 minutes to tell you why Jesus is the last Adam, and he is the atoning sacrifice for our sins. He is the propitiation that's been paid for us. He is, and I can explain that in a historical, grammatical, canonical way that gives you a total exegetical understanding in an apologetical way. Would you like that? Do you even understand what I just said? No, you don't. But you know what? I did, and it makes me feel smart. And there's 2 people out there who go, Pastor, that was a real good use of the word apologetic. Yeah. And you know, yes, yes, yes. Who cares? It doesn't bear fruit. Is there a place for that? Sure, it's called seminary. Not Sunday morning local church with people that are broken. And some of you aren't broken. And if you're not broken, it's time to go find someone who's broken and simply say, come and see. Come and see. We want to be that place. We love music. We love having the music. And we do nights of worship about every quarter. We have 90 minutes of nothing but worship and music. It's awesome. I love it. I soak it up. Well, Pastor, we should do that on Sunday morning. That's a church person saying that. That's not someone who's sitting next to an unchurched 35-year-old male they invited who's fighting a hangover. Where else does this 35-year-old unchurched male go where he stands with strangers, looks at a screen, and sings songs? Karaoke. Yes? Can you picture him being in the building? Hey, what are we doing? We're standing? Okay. Oh, cool. Karaoke. Yeah. I know how to, yeah. And you're going, wait, we're experiencing the presence of God while we're worshiping. Yep. And he thinks we're doing karaoke. We think what he thinks is weird. He thinks what we think is weird. And if we're not careful, we'll just keep pointing fingers. And pretty soon we'll be the church that no one wants to go to except church people. And that's the church you left 30 years ago, or your parents left 30 years ago. And that's not where we need to go. If you want to engage Vision with us, we invite you to come along. And that means inviting other people to come with us. See, Vision drifts. And it's too easy for Vision to drift if we're insider focused. The antidote is to invite people, because you will critique and complain correctly when you're inviting people. If you don't want to engage Vision with us and you don't want to build vertical and horizontal relationships, if you're attending church here because it's better than the last church you attended and you haven't found a better church yet, but you're looking for one, and when you do, you're going to go there. If you're not planning on engaging Vision with us, you just like this better than some other church, you're going to catch yourself naturally, normally, critiquing and complaining about the wrong things. And as leadership, if we get enough criticism and complaints about the wrong things, we'll probably start to shift. And we'll become we won't be outsider focused anymore. We'll be insider focused. And then we'll become a bigger version of that church that you hated 30 years ago, or your parents left 30 years ago. You don't want that. We don't want that. And that's not where we're going. Do you know what hangs in the balance on your willingness to extend an invitation? And the accurate answer to that question is always no. We have no idea how powerful that invitation is. Pastor, that's great, but I'm looking at the notes here, Pastor. You got one more fill in the blank, and I'm waiting, Pastor. Come on. I know you're almost done, but you haven't given that last fill in the blank, and here it is. You are glad, not mad, at the person who invited you. The person who said, why don't you come? Ryan Reddick, I see you over there. Are you still ticked off at Taylor Sabala for inviting you? No, you still ticked off that he made you go to lunch with that goofy pastor out at that Mexican restaurant? No. You weren't that happy with him that day, though. I remember that. I don't blame you either. You're going to be glad, not mad. You have the power to change the trajectory of someone's life through a single invitation or a series of invitations. We're going to change to something else in just a moment. If you are here this morning as a person following Christ, there was a person in your life at one time who invited you to church.
Hello, dear people. My name is Ron Sandoval, and I am an old friend of your pastor, Mark Lehman. He asked me to share some thoughts about my involvement in the process of him coming to know the Lord. Of 1984, in the spring of 85, through some divine orchestration on the Lord's part, I ended up working with Mark, and also around that time, I became baptized in the Holy Spirit and became pretty radical as far as talking to friends about the Lord and inviting people to church all the time. And so I don't actually remember inviting Mark specifically. I know I did, because I remember him coming with me, and he came the first day, and I remember he got saved his first visit, and we went back that night. And I just don't remember the actual invitation, but I do remember at that time, it was just a normal part of my life. I was wearing, as I said, I've been baptized in the Holy Spirit. I was wearing, Jesus T-shirts and walking around this school with this big honking Bible, and at work just talking about the Lord all the time. I remember. The point is just that it doesn't have to be, a real big thing. You inviting the Lord doesn't have to be, lightning and thunder and angels and visions and dreams. But it's just it could be just a very simple thing, just letting the light of Jesus shine through your everyday life, and just saying, hey. I go to this great church. Would you like to come and visit with me one time? That's about as deep as you need to get. I don't remember having any big theological discussions with Mark, and hours and hours of praying and begging and pleading. I just simply just asked people to come, and Mark came, and you've seen the results. I love seeing the pictures of, it seems like every time I see a picture of the congregation, it's growing and growing and growing. So I'm delighted at what God is doing out there, and just pray God's richest blessings on all of you, and take care of my dear friend. God bless. Bye-bye.
You have no idea what hangs. Oh my goodness, I totally hang in the balance of his invitation. You have no idea what hangs in the balance of your invitation. Would you please use it? But we also understand that giving an invitation can be intimidating. It can be very intimidating. So at this time, ushers are coming forward. Come on, guys. I think we have one per family. We have one per family now, Steve. You think we got enough? What? Adults only is what we got right now. So that's definitely one per family. Teens or adults, we'll figure that out. We'll make that work somehow. Go ahead, guys. This is simply a card. It's on the screen. We understand that inviting people can be scary. We don't want it to be scary. We want to make it easier. So we want to walk you through 6 ways, some direct ways and some indirect ways that you can actually invite people to this local church. One of them is a business card. We have these out in the lobby in the Welcome Center all the time. I carry some with me in my wallet. So you hear someone say one of the 3 knots. Hey, it's not going well. Hey, we're not ready for this. Hey, we're not going to a local church. You can go, really? Hey, why don't you come to our church? Come hang out. We'd love for you to come and see. And so it's a business card. It's got the information on the back of it. It's got the service times. That's a pretty direct way of inviting someone, and that might not work as well for you. So maybe there's another way that will work better for you.
Yeah, you guys saw the video that we started with this morning with Richard Brookshire sharing his story. There is power in your story. You may not realize that, but there is power. And so we are going to help you. We're going to shoot your story, videography of your story, and we'll make a video of it. And as you guys were in here, we had so many that were in Pastor Mark's office that were shooting their story. And then once we create that video, we're going to give that to you either through Facebook or we'll hand it to you. If you don't want it on Facebook, let us know and we'll give it to you. But if not, we'll put it on Facebook. Then you can actually share that story with your circle of friends that we don't have contact with, but you do. And so when they see that story on Facebook on your wall, they may go, man, I know them, and they go to Flag Church, and that's their story, and I can connect with their story, and so they may end up showing up. So we have a sign up at the Welcome Center. It's important that you sign up so we can get you in the floor. There is spots open during this week. There's a day that you can come in, and also next Sunday, and we want to capture those stories, and we want to use that powerful story to reach people. So help us with that.
So it's actually setting an appointment, a 15-minute appointment where you're just going to walk in and say, hey, before I came to Flag Church, when I came to Flag Church, now this is what's going on in my life. I love my church. Very simple. And it might be something that would work really well for you, and a way you can share your story and you can invite people. If that works for you, that's great. Another indirect way is simply by wearing a shirt, and some of you are doing that today. The reason you wear a shirt is not so we can brag about how awesome our church was. If it was, we'd have the logo on the front. We purposely put the logo on the back. Why? And small on the back, not big, massive on the back. Why? The idea is to start a conversation. The idea, we can put a sign out front or have someone stand up there and say, come to Flag Church. That's just annoying. That's shouting. That's like going on Facebook using all caps. If you do that, don't do that. Don't use all caps. It's annoying. And yes, Mom, I'm talking to you. Oh, my mother. Come on, some of y'all have a mom that's got Facebook too. You know what I'm talking about, man. You make a post on there and your mom goes, when are you going to call me? So the shirt, it's just an opportunity to start a conversation. I do it all the time in other ways. I see someone who's obviously not feeling too good, and they're wearing this horrible piece of clothing that's got this star on it, and it's like in silver and blue. It's something about the Cowboys? Something about the Cowboys? So I'll usually go, oh man, I'm sorry, did someone put that on your shirt? Or is that part of your work release program? You have to wear that? And they're used to getting slammed on for it. It starts a conversation. Because you know what? You can't win your enemies to Christ. You can only win your friends. So maybe a shirt is a way that works for you. They're $5, and if you don't have the $5, you let us know privately. We'll just give you a shirt. No questions asked. 2 questions asked. 2 questions. Color and size.
Hey, another way. How many of you guys have Facebook?
Who's got Facebook? Come on. Who's on Facebook?
How many of you got your smartphones? Go ahead and pull it out right now. Go ahead and pull out your smartphones. We're letting you do this in church.
If you're willing to. Play along.
You guys are always on Facebook, and you have a circle of influence that is following you on Facebook that we don't have contact with. Every time you walk into Flag Church, we want you to start checking in. If you go to your status, there's an option there where you can check into Flag Church. You check in and you just say, hey, come hang out with us. This is the times or whatever you want to put on there. And every time you check in, those people that follow you on Facebook are also noticing that you are showing up at Flag Church. And so it's an indirect way. Like I said, we're not screaming it out there, but we're indirectly saying, hey, think about this. There you go. You're checking in. But indirectly letting people know, hey, we're at Flag Church. Why don't you come check us out? So help us with that. You can start doing that leading up to Easter.
Now, maybe you're not a technology person. We're not pushing the tech. If you don't want to do that, I don't have one of those dumb smartphones, Pastor. I don't want one of those things. That's cool. Maybe you're old school. You just want to go knock on doors and invite people that you know. That's cool. Whatever works for you. These are just tools that you can use. Here's another one. The actual Flag app. Click, click,
Technology.
click, technology. Isn't it awesome?
It's not.
Here, I'm going to go, move.
Map that back.
There we go. Oops, back me up to the Flag app, would you please? Thank you, Nathaniel. Can you go back one? So what do you mean, Pastor? We're supposed to tell people about the Flag app that don't even come to church here? Here's why it's a helpful thing. No, we're not trying to get people just down. Hey, would you like to come hang out at my church? Maybe sometime. So you sense their defensiveness. Don't push. Just say, hey, I don't blame you, man. Yeah, you know what? You can go download the app and check it out online at home in your pajamas, drinking coffee. You can look at us from a distance without risking a visit. It's a way to give them a softer invitation.
This last one is for all of you that actually drive on the right side of the road and don't have road rage and that kind of stuff. It's a license plate. We created this last year and we have some left. We're creating more of this. And we just want you to purchase one. It's $5. This covers the cost. And put it on your car. And as you're driving, we've seen this last time when we launched this. We're like, hey, that's Flag Church. And so it's just an indirect soft way of telling people, hey, check us out. Come check it out. See what's happening. God is moving here. And as we lead up to Easter, this is ways that you guys can help us reach that community that's not reached.
I don't know if this Easter is the Easter we'll reach 1,000 people or not. But what I do know is that I don't know what hangs in the balance of an invitation. And we got 500 people here today between 3 services. What hangs in the balance of 500 invitations? We have no idea. Let's be willing to see God do what he can do. Can you say amen? Come on, let's stand. God's done great things, but I don't think he's done yet. Lead us out, Zeke.